Testing 1, 2, 3. Good morning, good afternoon. All right, we should roll when ready. And welcome in, everyone, and welcome back to those of you who joined us yesterday. Very exciting day yesterday, and I think today is going to be even more exciting. Again, I have the pleasure of welcoming to the stage your MC, Femi Oke. Femi, welcome in. Wow, you ready to kick off this amazing day?
Hello there, Tom. Hello, delegates. So good to see you. Do you know, if we were all in the same room together, you would still be talking. I would be standing on stage waiting for you to stop talking, and you would still be talking and networking and chatting. We have a chat box. You can do exactly the same thing. Introduce yourselves to each other, chat about what you're doing. Why do you care about building resilient food systems? Our theme for this year's forum. We also are able to offer you French interpretation. So if you're on the special IFC Food Safety Forum platform, well, go onto the left side of the navigation bar, look at help, click on that, and that will tell you how you can hear me in French. And if you're on the Zoom platform, you have that little globe at the bottom of your dashboard, click on that. And again, that will give you French interpretation. Bonjour, ça va, to all of our interpreters. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate you. So, why are we here? Why is this theme so important, and what's coming up today? 3 very important questions that are way above my pay grade, which is why I'm going to introduce our very special first opening remarks and our opening remarks speaker, and that is Tanya Lazansky. She's the Global Head of Manufacturing, Agribusiness and Special Services Advisory, IFC. Over to you, Tanya.
Thank you, Femi, for the introduction. And welcome everybody to the second virtual day of IFC's 9th International Food Safety Forum. So you might ask yourself, this is the 9th International Food Safety Forum that IFC is doing. Why is IFC so interested in the food safety agenda? And really, it's for 2 reasons. First, agribusiness is such an important sector in many of our countries. It employs the bulk of the people, but it also has a significant competitive advantage where the countries can be home to the future, not just local players, but regional players and global players in the agribusiness sector. And food safety is the essential ingredient to help these companies succeed over the longer term, create jobs, but also export revenues. But on the other hand, IFC is of course also an investor. So we care about our clients' financial performance. And we know that companies that invest in food safety have better risk management, save money, save resources, have a better bottom line, and also can grow on their revenue basis because they just have a better brand. So for us, the food safety agenda has been really important, and that's why we continue to work on these topics all the way through the supply chain, from helping our clients address food safety issues in the smallholder level, all the way through to traders, distributors, food processors, and the retailers on the other end. So food safety also unites both private sector stakeholders and companies and public sector stakeholders. And that's, I think, the great combination in the audience that we have yesterday and today, really coming from across the board to look at how that food safety agenda can be elevated and taken to the next level. I'm really looking forward to the sessions today. First, we're going to take a look at how companies who are receiving support from the Global Agriculture and Food Security Program, or GAFSP, are actually addressing both health and nutrition issues for the population while growing their business. And then we're going to talk about culture. So in many cases, people think about food safety as the nuts and bolts of systems, of audits, of procedures. And of course, that's really important. But what we know is that unless there's a food safety culture in the company, it's not going to be as effective over the longer term. So I'm really looking forward to the chat that we're going to have between IFC's Barry Lee, who is our industry specialist and food safety champion, as well as Lone Jesperson, who advises companies around the world on food safety culture. COVID over the last year has really shown us that what got us here won't take us there. And so we're also excited to have a session on Pitch IFC where we'll hold a number of new ideas on food safety systems, on digital ideas on disruption in food safety from different entrepreneurs. So I'm really looking forward to hearing about those new ideas and initiatives. And then last but not least, it's really good to be able to hear from the experts, people who are deep in the topic, who are looking at disruptive technologies in food safety, who are looking at cold chain logistics and food safety systems. So definitely make sure that you spend some time on that. So on the IFC side, we're committed to the agenda. We're going to keep working with our clients and partners globally, both at the private level and at the public level, together with colleagues from the World Bank to bring food safety to the forefront of what we're doing in emerging markets. And we also want to acknowledge the great support we've been receiving from our development partners, especially in Africa. So the government of Japan, development partners to the GAFSP, Global Agriculture and Food Security Program, and most recently FIAS, the Facility for Investment Climate Advisory Services at IFC. Thanks to all of you, and I hope you enjoy the day. I very much look forward to the sessions, and do make use of the various virtual interactive tools that we have set up to make this experience a great one. Thank you, Femi, for the introduction. And welcome everybody to the second virtual day of IFC's 9th International Food Safety Forum.
Thank you, Tanya. And hello, Niraj Shah. How are you today?
I'm good, Femi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Good to see you. Niraj, what is the best introduction you have ever had in your life? Recreate it for us.
Oh, well, I'm the program manager for the Global Agriculture and Food Security Program's private sector window. I've been with IFC for, I guess, about 14 years. I've been working for 23, 25 years now. Time flies. But I'm looking forward to the session.
I think you're highly qualified to moderate this session. Over to you.
Thank you, Femi. So great. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us at this special session on food security and nutrition. So GAFSP, or the Global Agriculture and Food Security Program, is a global effort that pools donor resources to fund programs which are focused on increasing food and nutrition security. Now, within that framework, we have the GAFSP private sector window, which is managed by IFC, and it's focused on the private sector. And it's the mandate remains the same. We're supported by the governments of Australia, Canada, Japan, the Netherlands, the UK, and the US. We have our focus is on smallholder farmers, but nutrition is a priority in the work that we do. And those of you who are familiar with the work of IFC and GAFSP, you know that we are committed to investments in nutrition. And we financed a number of projects that have expanded access to poultry, to dairy, eggs, fresh fruits and vegetables. We've also invested in companies that manufacture specialized nutritious foods. So you have Africa Improved Foods in Rwanda, you have Insta Foods in Kenya. These are companies which make products that are focused on combating severe or acute malnutrition. Now, the importance of nutritious foods, in promoting physical health and cognitive development is known. And so, nutrition is a development priority. But the private sector faces a number of challenges in commercializing nutritious foods. So the key question that is posed in front of companies is, how do you produce food that is healthy, affordable, safe, and within reach of the local consumers in Africa as well as other developing countries? So nutritious foods are perishable. There's poor infrastructure, so there's more food loss. You have low agricultural productivity. You have complicated logistics. There are a number of challenges. Now, you could say that you should consume, say, fresh dairy or fresh fruits and vegetables, and yes, it does increase the nutritional content, but then it also increases the threat of foodborne diseases. So how do companies navigate that process? How do you, deal with these challenges? So what we have today is a fantastic panel. We have three panelists who are uniquely qualified to address some of these questions and then also talk about the opportunities for the private sector when it comes to providing nutritious foods for African consumers. We have with us Professor Delia Grace. Delia is an epidemiologist, a veterinarian with more than 20 years of experience in developing countries. She's a professor at the University of Greenwich and a joint appointed senior scientist with ILRI, the International Livestock Research Institute. She's based in Nairobi, Kenya. Career has spanned private sector, research, field-led community development, aid management, and Delia's interests again span a wide range. She's interested in food safety, emerging diseases, animal welfare, gender studies. Very, very happy to have you with us, Delia. The next person on our panel is Amit. Amit Sagar is the CEO of Dairy Farms, Pearl Dairy Farms in Uganda. Uh, you might be more familiar with the brand in East Africa. It's called Lato, Lato. He was born in Kenya, but he's been in charge of Pearl Dairy Farms in Uganda since 2015. He's the CEO. Under his watch, the company has expanded the product portfolio and across East Africa. We had the good fortune, IFC and GAFSP, of supporting Pearl Dairy's plant. I think it was in 2016. It was a powdered milk plant with the cold storage infrastructure. And that was focused on facilitating milk collection from remote smallholder farms. In addition, we also worked on an advisory project to create dairy development executives, DDEs as we call them, who have advised more than 2,000 local farmers to improve their productivity, to adopt good agricultural practices, and I think a lot of them have benefited from even doubling of their yields. And then third, we have on the panel Dave. Dave Ellis is the co-founder and managing director of Flow Equity, serves as the director and the CEO of all the portfolio businesses. Flow Equity is a US-based venture development company and is focused on developing the rural poultry sector in Ethiopia, in Eastern Africa actually. But the flagship company is Ethio Chicken, which is a leading market leader in Ethiopia. We have 1,600 employees. You're reaching 3 million smallholder farmers. Fascinating. You're also trying to replicate this in Rwanda and Uganda, and we'll hear more about that. I think your company's name is Uzima Chicken in those countries. So this is I'm really glad to have all of you here with us. And I think to kick off the session, we are going to have a very simple poll question. So Tessa, if you can have that question on the screen. Tessa?
No, Raj, we're just getting that poll launched now, so the results will come up here momentarily.
Thank you. So the question is very simple. Is there a link between nutrition and food safety? So 96% say yes, and there's 4% which say no. It's going down to 3% now. So the good news for everybody who said yes, you're in the right place. I mean, this is a panel on the link between nutrition and food safety. But for those of you who said no, you're also in the right place, because hopefully at the end of the session, you will be convinced that there is a link between food safety and nutrition. So I think this is most probably the best question to ask Delia. Delia, so why don't you tell us, what do you think is the link between food security and nutrition? Thank you.
Thank you. I've been looking at this for many years, and it's really complicated. The first thing is that some of the most nutritious foods, and we're talking about animal source foods, milk, eggs, fish, they're also some of the most risky foods in terms of because
Delia, sorry, I'm going to have to just jump in.
Nutrients to people.
Delia, I'm sorry to interrupt you. May I request you to put the video off? I think we're losing your audio
Please
on
do.
that.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
I know my internet is not good here, so just tell me to go away if I'm not clear and let other people talk. Um, uh, so the first thing we see is that some of the most nutritious foods, the milk, the eggs, the meat, the fresh leafy vegetables are also some of the most risky foods. So here you have a trade-off. Do you want to have nutrition or do you want to have safety? And there's also other complicated relationships, like, for example, that once many governments with best intentions try to bring in strong regulations to improve food safety, get all the milk pasteurized, get all the vegetables canned. They double or treble the price. And that makes it very difficult for poor women who are trying to give their kids nutritious foods. And now the nutritious foods have all got, 2 or 3 times more expensive. And then there's all sorts of issues which we don't even understand properly. Things about chemicals, agricultural chemicals, things about, EED. These are things which don't even make kids sick, but they make them have some sort of, their gut doesn't work as well as it should. And it's because of low levels of microbiological hazards in their food, which is almost impossible to eliminate. So they're completely uh, mixed up, integrated, implicated, and I think I don't want to be horrible to anyone, but I think the nutrition community has just forgot about food safety. They've just thought it's all about having nutritious food, and they haven't really thought about that food has to be safe.
Thank you so much, Delia. I think that's a great answer, and maybe a great way to move on to our next panelist, Amit. But Amit, before we get to you, we have a poll question for the audience, and just so that people get a sense of how large your business is, maybe we'll just put it up on the screen. And the question is, as you know, and there's a lot of research which shows that drinking milk reduces stunting by 26%. So how much milk do you think Pearl Dairy produced per day since the beginning of the year? Is it 75,000 liters, 350,000 liters, 540,000 liters, or 910,000 liters? And Tessa, could you just tell me when the poll stops so that we can then look at the final result? Okay, I see the answers moving. I think there's a fair bit of wow. So you have I think the bulk of the answers are at 540,000 liters, and then you have almost an equal number of people guessing as to your real size of your operations, Amit. 48%, and then equally spread across the others. So Amit, over to you. What is your business model? Tell us, and of course, please tell us what's the right answer to that question. And then how are you able to provide milk safely and at an affordable price? And I think Delia made that connection. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you, IFC, for the support in the past 5 years. The correct answer, I was actually quite happy with the answers from the audience of over 500,000 liters. We'll get there by next year, but currently we're at around 350,000 liters. So I think if we do this poll next year, the audience will be right. In terms of what we are, so we are a dairy processing company operating in Uganda primarily, and recently in Kenya. So we buy milk from smallholder farmers both in Uganda and Kenya, and are currently working with over 15 to 20,000 smallholder farmers in Uganda and Kenya. And we sell our products across the region. And just to name a few countries, we're in Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Sudan, Zambia, Malawi, Burundi, and slowly expanding into Mozambique later on this year. We produce the whole variety of dairy products, from yogurts to powder, fats, butter oil, ghee, UHT milk, and effectively we're also try and work across different portion sizes to ensure that we are able to meet the affordability requirements for our consumers in all the countries we operate in. Of course, the dairy industry is quite challenging, given the fact that it's a fresh produce, and we need to work with our farmers on a daily basis, and collect the milk, and effectively process it on time, and effectively provide it to our consumers in a safe format. The challenges, or effectively, I mean, what I would say that the way we make sure that it's given to our consumers in a safe manner is that, of course, we pasteurize the milk, and then, of course, whether we're doing it in terms of powder or in terms of UHT, it also goes into sterilization, so that the product is safe even at ambient temperatures, because we pack the products aseptically. So this is effectively what we do. I mean, our brand name is Lato, which is what people would recognize more in the countries, and this is effectively what we do. Thanks, Neeraj.
Thank you, Amit. And we'll come back to you quickly in terms of some of the specific challenges that you face. And before we move to Dave, we have yet another poll question. So let's put that up and see what we have there. As you know, Americans consume 41 kilos of chicken annually on a per capita basis. How much do you think is consumed in sub-Saharan Africa? Is it 10 kilos, 20, 30, or just 2.5? Right, I can see the answers moving. This is an interesting question because you would think that the consumption of poultry is on the rise. And we have 10 kilos as the leader right now, 42%. And then 2.5 kilos at 33%. All right. So I think the majority of you think that 10 kilos is what the per capita consumption of chicken in sub-Saharan Africa is. And I still see a few answers at 20 or 30 kilos. And again, I think that might be the case in some countries or in some, in some income segments. But the actual answer is it's just 2.5 kilos. And I guess that's a question for Dave. Dave, so your mission is to bring healthy and affordable eggs and meat to East Africa, to Ethiopia, and then enhance the rural livelihoods. So please tell us what is your mission and how feasible is it?
Sure. Yeah. And it's where we think, where we started in Ethiopia, the consumption is actually 0.5 kgs per person per year. And so there's even more work to be done there. Our purpose as a company is to make smallholder farmers healthier and wealthier. And we do that by bringing them an improved breed of chicken, which significantly increases their output. One of the things that we've learned, and I think most people would take as obvious, is that smallholder farmers are largely consuming that which they produce. And so one of the exciting things that we've seen, in Ethiopia and also in Rwanda and Uganda where we work, is that when you're able to create a surplus in the home, when you're able to increase the output, you also start to see increasing consumption. So the vast majority of smallholder farmers in sub-Saharan Africa are keeping chickens, but the chickens they keep are not very productive. They typically lay 50 eggs in a year and will take almost 1 year to reach market weight. We supply these smallholder farmers with a better breed of chicken, which is still appropriate for their environment, which can give them 200 eggs per year and will reach market weight within 3 months. So that's a 4x increase in productivity. The output increases are obviously increasing the income of smallholder farmers, which has a follow-on nutrition effect, allowing them to buy more nutritious foods. And then the increase in output and more eggs and more meat also drives consumption. So we see that smallholder farmers end up consuming almost 30% of what they're producing when they take our birds. And so it's been a really exciting shift. There was actually an IFC study that came out just a few weeks ago looking at egg consumption throughout Ethiopia, and it was showing rural women in Tigray almost on par now with consumption in Addis Ababa. And Tigray is one of the regions that we've been working in the longest. So we do see that it's possible to drive consumption of more nutritious foods among smallholder farmers if you give them the tools to produce, and you really allow them to increase their own output so they can produce more nutritious foods at their home. Most smallholder farmers are divorced or separate from the urban markets and the retail chain, the organized value chains. And so what we've learned is if you really want to drive nutritious food consumption among smallholder farmers, then you should really give them the tools to produce more nutritious foods. The hardest part of this is really building a system that can make better chickens available at an affordable price in every village in the market that we work. Our mission as a company is really to reach every farmer, and we work very hard to make sure our chickens are available in almost every village in each country we work in. But that's really the hard part is building the distribution and the system to make these inputs available to farmers at a good price and always accessible.
Thank you, Dave. I think you've raised a lot of issues, and again, as Amit also mentioned, I'm going to go back to Delia, but and I promise this is the last poll question, so we have one more poll question. It's a bit of a trick question. So, what are the riskiest foods in Africa? And so we've heard Delia talk about, and we spoke about, having access to meat, dairy, fresh fruits and vegetables, cereals. When you think of these foods, which do you think are the riskiest for African consumers? And the answers may surprise you.
And Niraj, it looks like Delia's internet has completely failed, so I think she has dropped us here.
All right. So let's just go ahead with the poll. I think it's moving all over the place, but I see meat as the forerunner at 34%, followed by fruits and vegetables, dairy and cereals. And so we were hoping to get Delia to come in and give her response. So let's just hold on that, but we've lost her on the internet connection. So maybe, Amit, I'm going to just come back to you and see whether we can talk about some of the challenges that you have in providing dairy for local consumers. So does the cost of food safety factor into your business model? And then does it impact price? So please tell us what's the link there.
Yeah, so I think what's important for the audience to understand is that the dairy industry in East Africa is very different from the global dairy industry, where the biggest change or difference is that we work with smallholder farmers, where some of the farmers are producing 10 to 20 liters of milk a day, which is normally not the norm in the first world, where the minimum size of farms is 500 to 1,000 liters a day. So the challenge we face in our region is that we need to collect this 20 or 40 liters. And then if I just kind of give you the journey the milk makes to your home, is that you've got a farmer somewhere remote in Kenya or in Uganda, in Barara, on his farm. He's milked 20 liters of milk. He'll probably have to share the transportation cost with his neighbor. They put the milk in an aluminum tank, and then it transports it to the nearest collection center. And if that's remote, it will probably go to another collection center using a tanker, and then eventually it reaches the factory for processing. So the biggest challenge and the food safety risk that we have in the region is that because we're working with thousands of farmers and smallholder farmers, the handling of milk, which is extremely sensitive, and on the poll that we just had, milk is probably supposed to be number one, if not at the same level as meat. And it's because of that challenge of working with smallholder farmers and the multiple handling. By the time the milk arrives at the factory, the bacterial load of the milk is pretty high. And what that also does is that it also reduces some of the nutritional benefits. And of course, what we do at the factory, we run through 3 steps. One is we run the milk through bacteriophage to remove this bacteria that have now developed because of the handling of the product, because of the long chain. Then we pasteurize the milk, and then we sterilize the milk. And all these 3 processes effectively ensure that the milk that we provide our consumers has no bacteria or any harmful bacteria on it, and is safe for consumption. But the challenge, and what we've been working with IFC and having the dairy extension offices in the farms is that the only way we can mitigate or normalize the situation is that trying to help our farmers become bigger in terms of production. So eventually we can afford milk tanks on site on the farms, whether it's 500 or 1,000 liters, and then we just collect the milk directly from the farms, reducing the number of players that are actually touching the milk in some way or form, where we don't know whether the cans have been cleaned, how they're handling the milk, etc. So the challenge is that of course once we get to the factory, we kind of clean it up, but the ideal nutritious, safe product is when we should not be cleaning up what's being done to the milk. We should get the milk in the natural form, which is the most nutritious form, and just process it and give it to the consumers. And effectively, this is one of the reasons why, because we're collecting from so many small people, farmers, and then we're effectively transporting it very large distances. The price of milk or the processed milk is pretty expensive once we add packaging cost to it. And effectively, one of the reasons in the region, we've got around 70 to 80% of consumers still don't drink processed milk. So they're still drinking milk directly from farm. And effectively, what I would say is, in a way, it's just some kind of good hygiene that has been put into the culture, is that whenever anybody buys milk in any form, they go home and boil it. And that process is effectively what we do in a factory, which is pasteurization. And effectively, one of the reasons why we've managed to live through decades of drinking unprocessed milk is effectively because everybody seems to be going home and boiling the milk. But the risk with that as well is that some people overboil it just to be sure. And by overboiling the milk, you're actually then destroying the nutritional value of the milk. And if you underboil it, you would still have the risk of bacteria living through the boiling process at home or the heating process at home. So that's why we promote consumers to start drinking processed milk, in which they don't, and if it is UHT, they don't even need to heat it. So you would actually save on energy. But the challenge always arises is that we've got such a complicated network of collecting milk and then processing it. And until the consumers don't shift away from the informal sector, which is not fully regulated, we've got good laws from the government, but the enforcement of those laws is not absolutely there. I mean, there's adulteration of milk. There is milk. You don't know how many days old the milk is if you go into an ATM to buy milk. They'll do all sorts of tricks of the trade to make sure that they don't end up losing the milk, and that's a big risk for the consumers. So it's always a challenge. In Uganda, for example, the percentage of people who buy processed milk is only 10% of the entire country. 90% still drink milk directly from farm, informally, and it's effectively a high risk issue. But um, um, milk consumption also goes with the economy, because it is still quite an expensive product. A recent survey we did in people's houses, literally, especially when you go to the lower income class, everybody buys milk and further dilutes it, sometimes twice or thrice, just so that everybody in the family can have a cup of tea and so on. So effectively, food, we do have food safety issues, which as private sector we are addressing with the help of IFC and so on, to try and improve on-site hygiene so that we improve the food safety. But the other angle of it is that the economies need to do better, so that the consumers can afford these products. So everything goes hand in hand.
Thanks, Amit. And I mean, you've raised so many issues that we could have a separate discussion on that. But I do, from our experience, we realize that multiple touch points have always been linked to food loss. And I think you're bringing in a very interesting point, that it's not just food loss; it's also then linked to food safety. And I've been amiss in asking the audience to post their questions on the chat, but I see that we already have a few questions. Before we go to that, I'm going to give Dave an opportunity to tell us, Amit has just listed out very eloquently what are the issues both on the supply side, but also on the consuming side. Dave, what are some of the challenges that you've encountered, in your business and in bringing these improved breeds of chicken to the market? Thanks.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest challenges up front was getting the breed right. It took us about 4 years to find a breed that would really withstand the harsh village conditions, and also provide a significant uplift to productivity. We went through 6 or 7 breeds, and there just wasn't a lot of good information out there about which breed would really be fit with smallholder farmer needs and also with local consumer tastes. So that was I would say our first biggest challenge. Then the next, it was building an extensive network of we call them agents. These are people that buy day-old chicks, feed, vaccines, and they take training from us. They raise the bird for 30 days and they sell it to smallholder farmers in their local villages. When we were starting in Ethiopia, there were almost no poultry farms and no poultry producers in the vast majority of the rural districts where we work. So we had to build from scratch an agent network that could take chicks from us, do a quality job brooding them, growing them, raising them, vaccinating them, and then also helping them find a market and find smallholder farmers and bring their product to smallholders. Developing that large agent network really also requires a large organization from our side. And that is one of the biggest challenges we face, especially in a new market, is building a large field team operating in every rural district in a country who are disciplined, dedicated, amazing. It just takes time to build an organization of that scale and that can execute in the last mile in rural areas. So getting the product right, getting the distribution model right, and then getting the people right to really build that and execute it in a rural context is, I'd say, the biggest challenges.
Thank you. Thanks, Dave. And I think we have about 10 minutes to go. So let's just, let's look at some of the questions that are flowing through. I'll start with a very specific question, I guess, to Amit. UHT increases the cost of milk in rural areas. Can the chilling of milk be used? And I'd request you to try and keep your answers short and sweet. Thanks.
Yes, so I mean, if for rural areas, if you just pasteurize the milk and cool it, that would be a lower way of addressing distribution of milk within that area, because UHT generally requires high costs of capital and machinery to do it, and you need a large volume. So that would work for cold. The cold chain would work for fresh products for 3 days.
Thanks. The next question, and it's a really great question, is since a lot of the nutritious foods are produced by small local companies, right, in Africa, but you are looking at reasonably large companies under your watch. What is the advice that you have? And I'll ask Dave to go first, and then Amit. What advice do you have for such SMEs who are looking to embark on a journey of food safety? And I know it's a broad question, but it's an important question. So Dave, maybe what's your advice, and then Amit.
Yeah, I think if it really depends on which product you're in, but in our business, it's very important that you work with a reputable supplier. So if you start with a disease-free, healthy, day-old chicken with a high quality feed and the right vaccines, you have a very high likelihood of being successful. If you don't have a solid source of any of those inputs, if you don't have the vaccine right, if the feed's not right, or if the day-old chick, the genetics aren't right, you're gonna have big problems. So I'd say really do your due diligence on your supply chain. Make sure you start with high quality, disease-free, safe inputs, and then and a lot of the rest kind of happens on its own. But I would say focus on getting really high quality inputs from known suppliers. It can be very tempting to buy to save money and try to cut corners on and reduce your cost by buying inputs from different sources that you don't know. But it's really important to have a good start and start with a high quality input.
I think that's a great question. So there is a question of trust here, but we'll come to that later. Amit, what's your advice?
Yeah, no, I think I would echo what David said. Is basically make sure your product is right, and everything else tends to happen automatically because food is something where you can only fool a consumer once. They won't be fooled the second time. So the most important thing is making sure consistency and making sure that your product is right first time. And after that, probably what's important is branding. And that's where most SMEs struggle, is where they're able to have a good product, but then they also need to ensure that they're able to differentiate it in the market from the competition using some sort of branding and messaging of why the product is different or unique. But as I say, in food business, you better get your product right, the taste right, because consumers they never forgive you. So I mean, you need to get it right.
Thanks, Amit and Dave. Great answers. And now we have another interesting question based on your experience. One of our audience members is asking, what are the conditions that you need to enable the smallholder farmers to improve the safety of their output or production? Is it incentives? Is it more knowledge? Is it access to technology? And Amit, I think we've on the advisory side we've had a fair bit of experience. So what exactly is it that you think the smallholder farmers what do we need to do with that?
The best thing and what works is how you pay them. And effectively, the challenge has been, especially when in the dairy industry, is that till recently or for the past 20 years, they've been selling milk on volume, not on what's inside it. And the challenge has been that for us to be able to pay farmers for what's inside it, a lot of infrastructure needs to be set up in terms of testing on farms and testing, and then reverting back to the farmers of what's wrong with their milk, and then kind of penalizing them for it or incentivizing them for it. And this is basically, there have been many pilots done in the region for quality-based payment systems, but unfortunately, that only equates to maybe less than 1% of the milk, or even lesser, that's currently being traded in the region. And we are also now in a stage where we are accelerating this, because we see that we can provide all the training to the farmers, which we've done in the past 5 years, but unless they're getting something in return for changing, they will not change, which is also not wrong on their part, because it is quite a bit of change that is required. And without incentives, you don't expect anybody to change.
Thank you, Amit. And I think we are almost out of time. So I'm going to ask Dave to just give your views on this question, which I think is really important given the supply chains in East Africa. But tell me what you think, and then I think we'll have to wrap it up there. Thank you.
Yeah, for us, I mean, a smallholder farmer producing a healthy chicken or a healthy egg, starts with, really disease prevention. For us as a company, we really focus on making sure that the bird is protected from major diseases before it gets into their hands, because we know that once a chicken is in a rural village context, it will be very difficult to gather them, to vaccinate them. So we take as much of that ownership as we can, and making sure the birds are fully vaccinated to make sure that they have a good, long, and healthy life. And I think it's also really important for us to remember that, you know, it's not just a healthy chicken that lays a healthy egg. There's also a number of wash issues that are related here, and so some of the, you know, the challenges and illnesses that the smallholder farmers and rural consumers face are really related to hand washing and food preparation. And so we have to remember that's also a really big part of food security, because they're often preparing their own food. It's not coming from a manufactured or a manufactured environment.
Thanks, Dave. And I think there were a couple of more questions, but I'm afraid we've we've run out of time. And I've made so many notes. I'm trying to figure out how to summarize everything. I did like Amit's statement that you can fool people maybe only once, and then after that, you know, it's not possible anymore. So I think that for me is the key takeaway. I also feel that I think some of the points that have been raised are really important in this connection between food safety and nutrition, which is there is a lot of work to be done at both ends. And there's only so much that the private sector can do in terms of their own supply chain. But then there is a lot of, I think, information, dissemination and education of consumers to not then dilute the quality of the products that you purchase. And we understand that there are economic reasons. I think there was a great example of people diluting the milk to make sure everybody in the family gets it. But I think that's where there needs to be a stronger connection between food safety and nutrition. I'm really sorry that we've missed Professor Delia. I think she would have had a lot of things to say, and it would have been fascinating. But unfortunately, I think we are at the end of our session here, and I'd just like to thank both Amit and Dave, and thank the audience for fascinating questions. Thank you for responding to all the poll questions. I think it's really given us a lot of information and insights into what are the challenges and opportunities out there. So I think with that, I'll hand it back to you, Femi. Thank you.
Thank you, Niraj. Thank you, panelists. Really appreciate you. So we are now going to give you a little bit of relaxation time where you can actually take a breath, find colleagues, make new friends, and network. So let me bring in our digital host, Tom. Tom is going to give you a little tour of wonder.me so you know what is out there for you on our virtual platform. Hello, Tom.
Greetings, Femi. And for some reason, I'm having an issue getting myself spotlighted. So if you can just continue to smile while Tessa shares our screen. Yeah,
All
Tessa's bringing up our Wonder platform. So delegates, this is as close as you can get to being live in a networking session. There is a networking link that's coming up now on your platform, and you'll be able to go into this room. You'll take a quick picture of yourself, type your name in, and you will appear in this room. You can see my colleague Tessa just over there on the right side of the screen. And as you enter in, you just take your cursor and drag yourself around, and you see that we've got all of our different topics listed. Food safety investments, food safety sustainability, policy and regulation. So if you would like to have a chat, please take an opportunity now to enter into, this is an application called Wonder. Enter into the live stream, and please have an opportunity to share and enjoy each other's company while we prepare for our next session.
All right,
Femi, back to you.
Thank you, Tom. And that next session will begin in 20 minutes time. So you have 20 minutes to network and to enjoy Wonder. I will see you back here on the main stage in 20 minutes. You're watching and you are part of the IFC Food Safety Forum 2021. My name is Femi Oke. You're about to meet Barry and Lone. Let me tell you a little bit about Barry. Barry Lee is an industry specialist at IFC, which means that he works on the investment of involving food safety ideas, innovations, programs, etc. That is Barry. Lone is Dr. Lone Jesperson, and she is principal at Cultivate. That's an organization that helps global organizations work on food safety. So in this conversation, we have Barry asking the probing questions and Lone nailing every single answer. Here they are in conversation. Over to you, Barry.
Hi, Lone. Good to see you again, and thanks for catching up for this cafe chat with me. Lone, with your deep understanding of food safety, I thought I would check in with you on some of the latest food safety developments, especially for how food safety culture is supporting business. So, if I may, I have a few questions for you. My first question is, the GFSI, or as we know, Global Food Safety Initiative, defines food safety culture as, and please allow me to quote the text here, shared values, beliefs and norms that affect mindset and behaviour towards food safety in, across and throughout an organisation. So I'm smiling, Lone, because that is a lot of words. So if I'm speaking to clients of IFC, can you explain to me exactly what I should be speaking about with them to explain food safety culture?
I most certainly can, Barry. And I agree with you. That's a pretty complex definition, and it's by design because we're talking about a very complex topic here. I liken culture a little bit like the human body. If you just take my temperature, it's really hard for you to know if I have a broken ankle. So by diagnosing culture, we really have to just think about that it is a complex issue. However, I think we also need to think about that it's something that is always living in groups. And that's really the difference when we hear people talk about culture and they talk about behavior. That's correct. But sheer definition, culture lives in groups. So that means, Barry, that while you and I might think that we each have a culture, we don't, but we belong to a culture. We actually, in a matter of fact, we belong to a lot of cultures. The other thing about culture is that it's something that lives at different levels. Just like if you take my temperature, you can't diagnose if I have a broken ankle. You might have to get in and look at my bone. You might actually have to get deeper into my nervous system if you want to diagnose if there's something really wrong with me. And the same with food safety culture. It lives at 3 different levels. So we have systems. Systems are part of our culture. We have practices or behaviors that live in groups. That's part of culture. And then we have these deep-seated beliefs or norms. And you know what, let me give you a couple of examples to just illustrate that. So we work with a little company, manufacturing company in Victoria. They make fantastic cheese. They have really good systems for food safety because one of the owners is really passionate about that. So there's lots of written systems in place. They also have every morning all of the 10 employees in that beautiful little manufacturing facility. They meet every morning, they sit, they have a cup of tea or coffee, and they talk about what they need to get done. It is part of their practices, it's part of their behaviors. They sit, they talk, they bring up problems, and they recognize each other if something's gone really right. But they also have a set of norms, which means you will never walk into their clean area without the PPEs or the protective equipment that's required. So as you can hopefully see in that example, they have systems, they have practices like their morning meeting, they have an unspoken norm that says, do not ever go into our clean area without permission and with the protective equipment that's needed. When we talk about food safety culture, we talk about all 3 of those items: systems, practices, and norms. And we look at those 3 items in the context of something that's shared. So it's shared across that entire group of a total of 12 people, 10 people that work their factory. We see the same in larger organizations. It just cements itself, or it shows itself in a little different way. So maybe just allow me to give you another example here, Barry. So we work with a very large organization, it's global, and they have some of the most fantastic food in the world. They have systems in place right from a policy with their senior leadership to say, here's how food safety is integrated into who we are as an organization, into our very identity. That's how important it is for us as a company to signal what we do for food safety every day. They also have practices and behaviors right from that the senior executive, they look at the measures for food safety, they discuss, they figure out where is recognition warranted and where are problems that are needing to be solved at their level. And then they have some very ingrained norms as well. This is a very proud family of employees across the world as well. But the norm is really, we're proud in what we're doing. Every single fruit that goes out from us, we take pride in. And that means that if I'm the one picking that strawberry in the field, or if I'm the one that's selecting that next fantastic sort of blueberries, I'm the one that's taking pride in that that's something that's done also with food safety in mind. So regardless of how we look at organizations, large, small, complex, high risk, geographical location, we can really look at food safety culture as two things. Something that's shared across a number of people. And secondly, something that's really built up at three different levels. Look at your systems. We cannot separate systems from culture. Look at the practices and behaviors, like in the two examples I just gave you. And then look at the norms. And the norms are by far the hardest to get our arms around, especially as food safety professionals, because we like our systems. Does that make sense, Barry?
No, that's great, Lone. Thanks for that. That makes a big difference for me, and I'm much clearer now. You're telling me that food safety culture is not like implementing a system, but rather you must nurture or establish a food safety culture within the organisation so that it's a shared value. So Lone, let me ask you this question. Can you briefly walk me through the food safety culture journey from the start to the end? And if I'm talking to IFC clients, are there any tips or key milestones that you can share that I could pass on to them?
I'd be delighted to, Barry, and I have to correct you at the very start there to say when you're looking at food safety culture, there really is no end to it. And I'm sorry to say that to any of you, because when we're looking at culture, it is literally something that you, Barry used the word nurture before, and it's a really good one because you got to look at your culture ongoingly. What I do want to encourage all of you to is take it in bite sizes, and I'll come back to that in a second. Don't get overwhelmed by how complex and how much there is out there for you to choose from and select from in understanding your culture. Find a way to interpret yours and then really just take it in bite sizes, small bits at a time, and celebrate every step. Now, back to your question, Barry. There is a path that we use to cultivate specifically around food safety culture. We use a maturity model. And it's a little bit back to what I said before as well, that it is a very dynamic topic. Culture is something that changes rapidly with internal changes, with external changes as well. And therefore we can look at the maturity model and say, where are you at today and what might be one of those bite-sized steps that you can take to get to the next level. And these 5 stages, when we start in a stage 1 and find companies that are really in this stage 1, where they're just getting their toes in the water, we're starting to look at their culture. Often food safety is mostly taken serious or taken action on because somebody else is telling you to. So it could be Barry that's visiting, or it could be somebody from your regulatory agency that's coming in to visit you, or a key customer. And then there's a new focus on food safety because of that external prompt to do so. So those are our react companies. It's a really early stage, and it's mostly reacting to external stimuli or to pressure, if you like. Unfortunately, if you are in that stage 1, you are also seeing a relatively high cost of running your food safety and quality systems because you're doing a lot of checking the checkers. Stage 2 is where we have a little bit more robust food safety knowledge, and in larger companies, robust food safety departments. And they're very good at what they're doing. Unfortunately, when we start to look outside the food safety and quality department, then there's little evidence that other functions are taking ownership of food safety. And as I said before in the definition around culture, Barry, it's about sharing. Culture is about sharing responsibility. And in stage 2 companies, unfortunately, we don't see a lot of evidence of that. Cost is a little lower for running your food safety system in a stage 2, but it is a risky place to be because even the best of food safety and quality departments can't possibly have all of the answers to what you need to do for food safety and quality every day. Then in stage 3, now it gets really exciting because stage 3 is where the company, regardless of its size, it could be the little company with the 12 people or a global international company, have really invested in that everybody has the knowledge, access to the knowledge required to carry out food safety specifically in what they do. Give you an example. Our friends in human resources, they play a huge role in food safety and quality because they are the people. And they're the ones that can help you with creating engagement. They can help you in many cases understand how to deliver meaningful change. And I say you because sometimes as food safety and quality professionals, that's not what we grew up to be when we look back. We don't necessarily know the psychology of change or what goes on in sociology when we're changing something within a group. And HR often has the answers for you. Finance. Do you know what? Guess what? They're really good with numbers. And they're really good with understanding risks. You bring in finance in that particular stage to also give them a role in food safety because again, food safety culture is shared and everybody plays a role in it, but it's unique to what they're there to do in the first place. So you take advantage of what all of these other functional areas are really good at. Stage 4, we call it predict because now you're really getting into honing the edge of food safety. You're starting to look at your processes. How can you really tighten down control on them? You don't have to test and check as much because again, it's built on a very solid foundation of knowledge. And we're starting to see cost of quality really drop down in that stage 4. And 5, we're really just looking at business as usual. Food safety is part of the business decisions from the very senior level of when you do acquisitions or if you're divesting or whatever you might be doing. Food safety is part of the equation, and that's what happens in stage 5. There are these milestones along the way. What's important to remember as well is that you can also go back in time on this maturity model. You might be in a situation where you're implementing a new IT system, and you might be acquiring another company, and it takes attention away from other things that you're doing because we still just have 7 days in the week, 24 hours. And therefore, sometimes when we're seeing, especially in companies in stages 1 to 3, you're actually starting to see your culture slow or slide back on the maturity model. You're becoming, in essence, a little more immature. And that's again because of what, I go back to Barry's comment, it's about nurturing. You don't stop nurturing just because you're in a stage 3 or 4. You keep nurturing your culture ongoingly. And that can be a lot of work, and that's why you want to share that across your colleagues and make sure everybody understands their unique role in food safety.
I have to say that what you just told me really resonates with me because I like that you talk the language of business. I like that you talk about our financial colleagues and how they're important for managing the credit risk or the financial risk, but you also importantly refer to HR or human resources, which is the people's people. And I'm going to take that to heart and I'm going to use that term. I actually think they're a huge asset in any business, especially IFC, but all our clients' business is a huge asset. So let me stop there and proceed to my next question. Lone, at IFC, we talk a lot about sustainability and resilience of manufacturing and agribusinesses, especially as we plan to emerge from this pandemic. So my question is, how can a food safety culture help our IFC clients and the industry in a wider sense?
If it's okay, Barry, I'd like to try and answer your question in a couple of different ways. I think we have one of the finest industries in the world. We feed the world. And we're also in a situation where we unfortunately do not have the talent needed in food safety and quality to be able to do that consistently. So we have to acknowledge that we have to invite new colleagues to come join us in this fine industry. In other words, we have to do the best possible for saying we are the company that you should choose to work for in the food industry as opposed to high tech or somewhere else in other industries. And I go down this path for a very specific reason, because food is, and I think will probably in the very foreseeable future, be a very manual industry. And that means that we are very reliant on people. We're very reliant on our colleagues, regardless of what role each of us play in a food company. If you have a really mature and constructive, positive food safety culture, you are more likely to attract talent within food safety and quality that wants to be part of your team. And I say this to some extent anecdotally, but also what we see in our 100+ clients across the globe. Those that have mature cultures, including food safety and quality, are the ones that are not only winning the talent game, but are also getting those very robust food safety and quality functions that can help make food safety and sustain food safety as a shared responsibility. So I think we have to reflect on that when we're talking about culture. It's also about who we attract to come and join our wonderful teams. I also just want to put it in context, it being the why focus on food safety and food safety culture into the context of the success of your business. We've talked a little bit about financial performance through costs of quality already. The company that manages their hazards and risks for food safety the most consistent and proactively is also the company that's going to win the trade war, if you ask me. It's the company that's going to have the best systems, practices, and norms in place where customers and importing countries candidly can see that this is a company that we can trust. So I think you need to look at your investment in food safety culture from two angles. Obviously, there's a need to control hazards and risks from a consumer perspective, but as a business, you need to attract the best possible talent into both our fine industry, but also into your company, so that you can be at the forefront of managing food safety and quality. And you need to do that so that you can be the one that customers, including importing countries, choose over somebody else, because you're the one that can demonstrate that they can trust you longer term. So I think this is very much a business discussion. It's about the sustainability of your business itself, because you have the teams and you have the individuals with the right skills, knowledge, and behaviors and mindset around food safety to carry you forward. But it's also about being the company that others choose to trust, because they know that you have the same intent, which is to protect their consumers and also make sure that they have a thriving business. So I think it's actually it's obviously a very emotional argument to some extent, Barry, so I apologize for that, but it's also a very practical business argument that we have to consider when we talk about food safety culture.
As I said before, Lone, IFC always tries to speak the language of business. So do you have any key business messages as a wrap-up that I should take away with me?
From a business perspective, I think we've already addressed a little bit how you can't separate food safety culture from the success of your business. And it is fundamentally because food safety in itself protects your consumers. A positive food safety and quality culture will attract the talent that you need to be able to do that consistently. And when you start to see your food safety culture maturing, you will see how the cost of running your food safety and quality systems will start to be lower as well, or drop, because you're just having more control over your processes. But I think there's another piece in this from a business perspective that I'd like to share, Barry, and that's We have, if you think about it from a business owner perspective today, you have an incredible amount of priorities that you have to address. We're obviously at the hopefully tail end of a pandemic here, and that has shone a whole new light on people's safety. We have an increasing need for just looking after the climate, the environment that we operate in, and making sure we're protecting the globe that we inhabit. We have increasing pressure from social compliance, making sure that we're just treating the people we employ and those that we're buying our raw materials from in a way that is not only decent, but the right thing to do. And then we have, of course, food safety, which we're here to talk about. So those are just a couple of different priorities that all business leaders today really have to have some kind of perspective and act on. So when we're talking about food safety and quality culture, I really encourage all of you out there that are sitting, trying to figure out how do we integrate this into who we are as a business, to sit with your business leadership. If you're not it, gather your business leadership, get a hold of your owner of the organization or your senior executive team and say, hey, do you know what? I represent food safety in this equation. Understand as a business, we have multiple priorities. Let's just sit down and take the time here to figure out how we best integrate all of these priorities. Because while it might seem that these are competing for attention and resources, they're all part of being a successful company. And therefore, having that very open, honest conversation to say, how do we integrate all of these things that we have to deliver on in the 21st century and go forward? How do we get the right metrics so that we don't have to sit with 5, 6 different dashboards as a leadership team and try and wrap our head around what does all of this mean? How do we get the right people and hiring strategies in so that we can retain the right people in the positions that we need them in? It's a bit of a long-winded answer. I apologize for that, Barry, but I'm just seeing this as being one of the emerging risks for what we do in the food industry is competing priorities where there hasn't been that very detailed and open discussion about how do we best deliver on all of this. And that leads me to my final thought, and that is, while this is a complex topic, Barry is absolutely right. The definition is a long and it's very complex definition, but it's because it's a topic that's complex. While it is that, try and think of it this way. Take one bite-sized step at a time. Select a couple of actions that you can take to improve your culture of food safety, specifically in your organization or company. Don't get overwhelmed by that you have external auditors coming at you saying, you need to show me what you're doing for food safety culture. Great, you can do that. You know what? It has never been that you need to have a long 10-page action plan to show that you are doing something for your food safety culture. Take it in bite sizes. Have actions that are meaningful to your organization. Make sure you bring your team along so that they take ownership for what they do every day for food safety as well. And do you know what? Just remember a little bit to smile along the way, because this is a fantastic journey as you go on it. And I wish you all the best of luck on it.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Lone. And Lone's advice to smile along the way is a perfect mood for what we're about to do now. Delegates, welcome to the Pitch at IFC competition. Think of it as IFC Idol, but without the singing. So much better without the singing. Let me tell you why. During the month of April, we crowdsourced a competition. We asked people, bring us your technological, your digital ideas, your innovative ideas connected to the theme of food safety. 29 people were competing. We had so many as we made that short list of 29. You're now going to hear from 3 different ideas. They are the finalists. So this is a pitch competition. Those finalists will be here in our virtual main stage, pitching to see if they will have their idea taken up by the IFC, developed with them over the next couple of years. They also get a year of mentoring, special mentoring, and also, and this is the big one, they get to be on the IFC website. I know, that is the prize. What a great prize. So as you can imagine, backstage, it is very, very tense right now. But I want you to meet the judges. We will meet the judges one by one. They will introduce themselves. We will kind of gauge what kind of mood they're in. Hello, Robert.
Good afternoon.
Robert, tell everybody who you are.
Great. I lead the advisory work in agribusiness based in Nairobi, covering African MENA, and excited about this session.
We are too. Thank you, Judge Robert. Judge Chish Amisho, so nice to have you here. Please introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are, what you do.
Thanks for having me, Femi. My name is Chishami Somawoyo. I work in the upstream department, where we work on early stage businesses based in Lagos, Nigeria, and I develop opportunities in the manufacturing, agribusiness, and services division. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Judge. Judge Shiko, please introduce yourself to our audience. Tell everybody who you are, what you do.
Thank you, Femi. My name is Shiko Bogambi. I work at the Disruptive Technologies and Funds team at the IFC. We invest in early stage tech and tech-enabled businesses across sub-Saharan Africa. And just like Chisamiso, I'm based in Lagos, Nigeria.
Shiko, what kind of judge are you? Are you a tough one? Are you the kind one? Are you the funny one?
I think I'm a bit of everything, a little bit of everything.
We will see. Hello, Natia, Judge Natia. Introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are, what you do.
Hi, Femi, and hello, everyone. So I'm Natia Mgeladze, and I'm global lead for the IFC Food Safety Advisory. I'm one of the hosts of this today event, and happy to be here at the Judge as well.
Yeah, really happy to have you, Judge. What are you anticipating? How are you going to manage to see those 3 different ideas, hear those 3 pitches? What's your criteria going to be?
Oh, that should be really very important and interesting competition, I see. So we will look to the presentation and then we'll have our also decision finally. We already have the criteria, how these 3 became the panelist of this and finalist of this competition. So, and you might already heard that we received 29 very interesting pitches, and these 3 were the 3 of the best. So
let's 29 down to 3. All right, you're about to hear from the pitches, but not quite yet. We have one more judge. So many judges, as in life. Amanda, hello, welcome. Introduce yourself. Tell us what you do when you are not judging the IFC pitch competition.
Hi, Femi, and hello, everyone out there. I'm IFC's Value Creation Specialist based out of Nairobi, Kenya, but actually looking globally. And I support the funds we invest in, as well as our investment team identify and drive value creation activities so that the companies can get great exits along with their impact.
Thank you very much. Judge, it's really nice to have met you. Stand by. The pitching is about to happen. Delegates also stand by, because at the end of the 3rd pitch, we will have a poll for you to take part in. So there will be a people's poll. Who is the winner for the people? The delegates winner. And then we will have the judges winner. Will those 2 winners be exactly the same team? Let's meet our first finalist. Our first finalist is Daniel. Daniel, will you give yourself a full introduction and your company, and then start your pitch? Welcome.
Okay. Hello, nice meeting you. My name is Daniel. I'm the founder and CEO of Floatify. I will start my presentation now. So let's see. Can you see it now?
We see it beautifully. Daniel, you have 5 minutes.
Okay. Hello, I'm very honored to have the chance to present Floatify at the IFC Food Safety Forum. As a former restaurant owner with more than 10 years of working experience and knowing of all the hassles with food safety checks, I decided about 5 years ago to develop Floatify. Today, Floatify is a quality management platform with about 1,500 customers in 7 countries. Our Our customers are ranging from mom and pop restaurants around the corner to franchise businesses with more than 100 outlets, from cash and carry markets in Romania to public canteens in Switzerland. So let me change to the next slide. The web dashboard is the heart of the Floatify monitoring system. It is used to manage the Floatify modules and give live access to all data. The Floatify HACCP app is used on premises for basically any kind of check. Employees can access training videos, photos, or PDFs within each task they have to fulfill. In addition, we have a Floatify IoT integration for third-party solutions. Here we can connect different types of data loggers, ERP systems, or push information to partner solutions. And the third module is the Floatify Audit app. The audit app can be used to do internal or external audits. It's also used to conduct our Stay Safe self-assessment checks created together with our partner TÜV Süd Food Safety Institute. Now, let's take a brief look at what the two apps look like. What you see is a very easy to use smartphone application that takes less than 5 minutes to learn how to use. We can offer safety templates that can be either customized on location or that have to be used exactly the way they were designed. So users can take pictures, enter values, or sign a task as a proof. The Floatify Audit app is a similar easy solution. It guides the user while filling in the questionnaires. It's so easy that even untrained users are able to conduct high-class self-assessments. The PDF you see on the right-hand side is a result of a Stay Safe hotel self-assessment conducted with Floatify Audit. So what are the benefits of Floatify? Our Romanian cash and carry customer with 23 stores told me that he saves days, not hours, by live access to his department stores. I didn't know before, but Romania has only 800 kilometers of modern highways, but it's larger than Germany. So now they get automated alerts when something needs their attention, and they can immediately check in the web dashboard. Regarding the audit tool, franchise restaurant customers told me that they save up to 50% in post-audit work time. But what I consider an even bigger benefit is that we are able to publish a positive result of a Stay Safe self-assessment in up to 20,000 marketing channels, such as online travel agencies, search engines, travel destination sites, and the like. I think there's no need to explain a lot the benefits of a modern automated temperature measurement. So let's skip to the next and most interesting question of all. What impact could Floatify have for the African continent? Honestly, this question really scared me at the beginning. Coming from Cologne, having a small idea going big. But since this is not a normal sales pitch, I decided to think large and show you different ideas how Floatify could support food safety and boost the trust in local businesses at the same time. It's important to understand that these ideas are not limited to a certain region or business type. Floatify could be implemented in any city, region, or country with the support of local governments, organizations, and institutions. And all it needs is a SIM card with a smartphone. So my aim is to install a monitoring system that helps also authorities to even remotely check on food safety procedures, to support local businesses with a tailor-made and easy-to-use checklist, and to reward participating businesses with a competitive advantage by publishing their effort in hygiene and food safety. Thank you for giving me this incredible chance to pitch in front of this audience of devoted food safety experts. Thank you.
Daniel, 5 minutes almost to the second. Well used time. Judge Shiko, Judge Natia, what would you like to ask Daniel? Shiko, you go first.
Thank you. Great presentation, Daniel. I quite enjoyed learning about Floatify and the different capabilities, particularly in Africa. My question to you is, what do you envision as some of the challenges that you face as you expand into Africa, especially considering how underdeveloped some of the regulators would be compared to Europe and European markets? So when it comes to that integration and auditing, what are some of the challenges that you think you'll face here in Africa?
Thank you, Chico. Very good question. And I was scared to get this question, honestly, because for now, I was so surprised to have the chance to present. I have no real understanding of the African continent, and saying continent, I mean, it will be different from Morocco to South Africa, from the Côte d'Ivoire to the other side of Africa. So what I think, what we need to implement a solution like Floatify, either on a micro system in just a city or in a region or in a country, needs local authorities, local experts for food hygiene, safety. Then we are able to set up a monitoring system which is hands-on and really taking into account the local situation and not some global standards that might not fit for what we find on location wherever we would start a project. So what we need are experts who know the country, who know the problems, and then we can translate it into Floatify tasks and publishing it and creating like a monitoring system, similar like to the Smiley system in Denmark. You might have heard of New York ABC, something like this. We could start it very small and increase it.
Judge Natia, your question for Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel. Great presentation. So my question will be related to the mostly usage of your Floatify platform. Let's call it like that. So we've seen it's like number 4 directions what you are using, and it already tested in 7 countries, as you mentioned. Yeah. So my question here will be the additional to the benefits what you saw. What your customers, like you mentioned, like mom and pop shops or the restaurants or the hotels, which is also target of your customers, what the additional benefits they saw, is that also affected the less complaints maybe through the better system monitoring? And what about the compliance with the regulatory and standard requirements, how it affected?
Thank you, Nadia, for this question. Let's say the feedback we get from our customers most the time is, you spot with Floatify, we made processes transparent that we didn't know before. We saw problems we didn't really were facing before because they were, just on pen and paper, put in a folder, stored away, and nobody took care of the cause of it. Now things get transparent where things are not as good as they could be. That's one learning they take from Floatify. A second one is like a public canteen chef tells us they save about 30 minutes per week on pen and paper work. In a supermarket, they save 2.5 hours per week in general because they are 10,000 square meters large with more departments within. A third benefit for our customers is to be more compliant with local regulators. And this is something in Germany, honestly, we are, I think, a very underdeveloped country in hygiene checks, I would say. The legal regulation system is not very well set up. But the restaurants, the hotels and so on, who use Floatify want to improve their food quality, safety, and so on. So automated temperature measuring, regular checks, and knowing it at the tip of your finger really makes them sleep better, having a better feeling facing their customers and facing the authorities, where we usually get a great feedback from a health inspector coming to a Floatify checked business. They love the clean and very easy, transparent documentation. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Judge Natia. You two can take a seat in the virtual green room. Pitch at IFC continues with our second team of finalists, Noel and Diana. They will give their 4 introductions to you, and after they have introduced themselves, their pitch will begin. They have 5 minutes. Hello, Noel. Hello, Diana.
My name is Noel, and I am a member of the board of One Agrix, and I'll allow Diana to introduce herself. All right. Now, I will just tell us a very, very brief story in about 5 seconds. John was married to Sarah, and they had a very fantastic, lovely relationship. It lasted for 20 years. Everybody loved their relationship. But unfortunately, John kept a big secret from Sarah. He had a child outside of wedlock. And when Sarah found out, she had to break the relationship. In fact, she had to file for a divorce. Now, looking at that story, we'll get to understand certain key principles. Love is important, but trust is the foundational principle that makes love work. Now, we understand that humans have had a relationship with food for a long time, just the same way John and Sarah are in a relationship. In fact, the relationship between humans and food is so strong that in the developing countries across the globe, between 60 to 80% of people living in these countries spend a huge amount of their income on food on an annual basis. And in fact, we consume 11 million pounds of food per minute. That shows a very, very strong relationship. And to maintain that relationship on a consistent basis, we at One Agrix, we decided to create the world's largest agricultural and halal digital ecosystem that would help to build and sustain this trust between humanity and food. Now, zeroing in on that, we have not just only built our operating system, we have built it on a fantastic technology called the blockchain, which is an interoperable technology that enables several stakeholders to key in and at the same time get certain things done in a public ledger. We have incorporated several facets on our platform, and it's incredible to understand that just like the relationship between John and Sarah, where they can get a divorce, humanity can never get divorced from food. So Diana, I'll let you take it over from here.
Thank you, Dr. Noel. So as you can see on this slide, the One Agrix public digital ecosystem objective is to allow for the progress in food system to be inclusive and collaborative instead of in silos. So the collective benefit is the overall objective and outcome of the One Agrix ecosystem, as what Dr. Noel has mentioned, and it addresses the issue that no one public or private sector alone can solve the food-related problems the world face. Now, development of food systems is more so reliant on coordinating the resources needed through synergies and collaboration between all stakeholders and participants. So what we do is at One Agrix, we use the ecosystem approach where interoperability of blockchain and other advanced IoT technology is used to address the challenges facing the world's food problem. An example of this is blockchain, which is a foundational technology that can create a self-reinforcing cycle of trust, transparency, and positive business practices, thereby advancing the world's food system. The supporting ecosystem and its trading platform has capabilities like cross-border payments, freight booking system for more than 200 countries door-to-door, track and trace, DNA traceability, agricultural and halal certificate verification, and anti-counterfeiting secure serialization technologies. So what this means in the food industry, that it allows for end-to-end food traceability and even quality assurance of products. And as you can see here, this is how One Agrix has been and is still working with nations addressing food resilient challenges. And over here, we solve the issue of food quality, food safety, food defense, food authenticity, and food security. And from here, what we do is to also help prevent food waste, and I'll explain later how we do that, allow consumers to work out the ecological footprint of their food, and guide the distribution of surplus food to those who need it. And this is done via a shared and immutable register of food data and transactions, which would prevent fraud, enable source identification of foodborne illnesses, and provide quick identification of the source of food safety problems, and for us to take steps necessary to withdraw or recall a food product from market with minimal interference in production. Now, the use of these technologies in a food ecosystem creates a baseline for a more robust, resilient, and sustainable global food system, and this is how it should be best operate. So One Agrix, lastly, what we are able to do in this is we are able to police its ecosystem. What we do is we identify bad actors through market surveillance technology and provide monitoring and anti-counterfeiting measures of food data. Now, in an overview, this is the One Agrix technology solutions that we have. And in the interest of time, I will not elaborate, but this is how we solve whatever that we claim in the slides above.
Thank you so much, Diana and Noel. Diana, we didn't catch your introduction. Would you like to do it now so the judge knows who to address? Go ahead, Diana.
Yes, apologies. So my name is Diana Sabrin. I'm the CEO and co-founder of One Agrix.
Fantastic. Diana and Noel, thank you for that presentation. Judge Robert, we would love to hear your question first for Noel and another question for Diana.
Diana, if you could stop screen share, please.
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much for the overview, Diana and Noel. So my first question, you touched a lot about trustworthiness, about transparency, how the system will bring that to the marketplace, right? Also, in your application, you had mentioned that all data inputs are going to be vetted. How are you going to manage that once you get to scale and once you start talking about trillions and trillions of KPIs? Can you expand how you're going to vet all of this data?
Yes, so Robert, for us, we do have, that's a good question, thank you very much. So what we do is we will identify and work together with stakeholders, for example, BSI, with the ISO standards, let's say Global Gap, with associations as such. And from there, what we do is we harness those data and those suppliers and farmers who have those certificates, they would then give us permission to vet through those data with the numerous certificate association. And from there, because the blockchain layer we use is robust, scalable, and interoperable, and it is EU-backed, we use Origin Trail protocol to do so. So our platform is prepared to scale and prepared to harness data from numerous governments at the same time from numerous blockchain protocols. So this is the thing that we use. And one identifier is by using the GS1 standards. So that allows for also scalability.
Okay, thank you. And my second question is which is very relevant to the audience and to us here today is how inclusive will this be in the African context, right? What kind of impact are you bringing to Africa? On your application, I didn't see any reference or any Africa. So I think I'd like to give you the opportunity to explain yourself on the impact and inclusiveness in the African context.
Yes, so just now actually I have one more slide, admittingly, and I couldn't click next after Femi gave me the cue, but it was a slide on the SDGs. And One Agrix has already been working with some governments. One of them is with Nigeria Fits the World Initiative, which is an Nigerian government-backed initiative, which means that we will utilize our platform and our ecosystem to empower the African youths for capacity building. That's one. For value add production as well in terms of the training that we provide. And another one that we are doing in terms of impact for the African continent is we have a partnership with International Trade Center, which is a UN and WTO mandate. I think all of you are familiar with ITC, and that mandate would see One Agrix as the official platform for emerging countries, and the first continent that we need to work is with the African continent.
Diana, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And also Judge Robert and also Noel, appreciate you. You have earned a nice few moments in our virtual green room, do help yourself to the virtual snacks there. You are watching Pitch at IFC. Welcome. This is a competition that connects extraordinary, amazing ideas, innovative ideas to food safety. And part of the prize, well, mentorship by the IFC. You get to be promoted on the IFC website. That is worth it. Plus also, and this is great, 3 to maybe 5 years of development of your idea, turning it from an idea, turning it from a slide, even I don't let that last slide play, into reality. So we have one more pitch to hear from. Yup. Welcome to Pitch at IFC. It's good to see you. Please
Thank you very much.
introduce yourself to our audience, to the judges, and then you have 5 minutes to make your pitch.
Very good. My name is Jaap Rommelaar. I'm one of the co-founders of Zoom Agri. There we go with our screen. Can you see that right now?
Yes, we see it. Thank you.
Very good. At Zoom Agri, we are transforming the testing, inspection, and certification of agri and food supply chains, also known as the TIC industry around the globe, which is a huge market, which is a $23 billion market. Each year, 3 billion metric tons of grains and oilseeds are produced and moved along the supply chains. Every time a truck, a train, a barge, or a vessel is loaded or is discharged, its quality is being analyzed. From seed companies to farmers, from farmers to grain processors, from grain processors to export terminals, every time that ownership changes, the quality has to be determined. Why? Because you need to establish the final price. But it's also extremely important because it really will help us in a more efficient and a more productive industrial process. We estimate that on average of those 3 billion metric tons, which are being produced each year, that they can be analyzed on average 3 times per grain life cycle. However, for the last 100 years, very little has changed when it comes down to the physical quality determination of those grains and oilseeds. And this is the core of the TIC industry. And this is where Zoom Agri comes in. With Zoom Agri, we are on the mission of transforming this TIC industry via digital quality determination, which is the core, by combining technologies such as computer vision, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. And how does our solution work? It is extremely simple. Our clients put the sample at their installations on our hardware device. A picture is taken, and then our in-house developed neural networks classify grain by grain, which allows our clients to do a truck-by-truck analysis and give results in real time, which makes or allows them to take very important decisions, especially on the commercial part. For the moment, our solution is mainly driven on a hardware device, but we are well advanced in providing this same solution on smartphone. There are 500 million small to medium-sized farmers who today do not have access to a decent quality control. Why? Because it's extremely expensive. As I said before, for the last 100 years, very little has changed when it comes down to this quality control of grains and oilseeds. With Zoom Agri, our objective is to bring solutions to the pain points our clients are suffering, which are physical limitations, delays in results, fraud, subjectivity, and an extremely high cost of analysis. And our solutions allow more and better quality control, which in our view will lead to a more transparent, a more traceable, and a more sustainable supply chain, leading to higher quality products. So why Africa? 60% of the African population is related or involved in agriculture. However, it only reflects 23% of the total gross domestic product. And not only in Africa, but all around the world, the most vulnerable link within the supply chain is the farmer. So now imagine that Zoom Agri will empower that farmer to determine the core of its business, which is the quality of those commodities in real time, at low cost and in an objective way. This will change the continent Africa forever. After having started our company only in 2017, today we're operative in 15 different countries with offices in South America, Europe, and Australia. But we're extremely glad and proud to announce that our first devices are on its way to Uganda and also to South Africa. We also have an enormous interest coming from Ethiopia and several other countries within the continent. I hope this is the beginning of a great journey of Zoomagri in Africa, and I hope we can do this together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jaap. So let me bring in two judges to ask you questions. Chisamiso and also Amanda, nice to see you. Chisamiso, you go first. What do you want to ask Jaap?
Yeah, thank you very much for a very engaging presentation. One question that I have is with regards to applicability across the value chains in grains production. We note that right now your application is currently being used for barley. There is some barley production being done on the continent, but that's quite limited. We do have a lot of other grains that our smallholder farmers constantly use. How applicable is this solution to all these other grains? And in terms of just minimum order quantities, will it work even if you're using it for a small, small producing quantities as opposed to the big ships and the barges that you showed in your presentation? Thank you.
Very righteous question. Thank you very much. First of all, yes, indeed, we started now with barley. We also have this developed now for soybeans, and not only in quality, but also in varieties. And our plan is after those two commodities also to do it for wheat, to do it for corn. This is the area where me and my co-founders are coming from. So we're mainly focusing on the traditional grains and oilseeds in the beginning, but this will be applicable to anything. So we're also right now, for example, analyzing other commodities such as green peas, also cannabis could be an option. So it's not only for barley, it's going to be for all the 3 billion metric tons which is being produced every year. So that is one thing. And your second question, indeed, we do this right now in a way with a hardware device, which is indeed maybe a little bit heavy on that sense that you need to install a hardware device, you need to do at least a minimum amount of analysis. However, that is where the mobile or the smartphone comes in, where we also see it as an application. Where also smallholder farmers or people who only want to do 2, 3, 4 analysis can even do that. And that is where we want to go to. I would like to highlight one thing is that our hardware devices, they are not for sale. We put them in a lending contract and our clients, they only pay a fee per analysis or a monthly fee. So it's a very, I would say also disruptive business model in that sense. But our idea is indeed to not only focus on the B2B, but also to the B2F, which is going to be the B2 farmer.
Judge Amanda, your question for Jaap.
Thank you, Jaap. It's a great presentation and definitely think this can be applicable on the continent. But as you started to talk about with how many farmers are on the continent, many of them are smallholder farmers and are very fragmented and have and make it hard for them to adapt to different changes. How are you thinking about the cost of acquiring these different customers and being able to scale this when you're not able to go to large farmers?
Yeah, the cost, any development we do, we take the cost from our side, or say, let's say all the development behind, be it for the big companies or be it for the small farmers, those developments are being done in-house by us. And then it's a question of how do we want to, let's say, sell our application. It can be that we do a lot of maybe help from IFC or the World Bank, where we can also support those farmers, because I understand very well where your question comes from. Are they also able to pay for this solution? And of course, in an ideal world, that application must be free, because that is where we started our company with that idea that it's very strange that sometimes the farmer is not able to determine what he has produced. It's like being a shoe manufacturer and then not knowing what types of shoes you're producing. So that is where we said we need to help those people also out, and not only be there for the big companies and make their, let's say, industrial processes more efficient, but also indeed that the smallholder farmer is able to do this quality control. So that could be one of the options, or make it so cheap that he anyhow, yes, can afford that premium he has to pay.
Thank you very much, Jaap. Thank you very much, Judge Amanda. So judges and delegates, you have heard all three finalists' pitches. So for you delegates, we are launching a poll, and you can decide who is your winner, the people's winner, the delegates' winner. Option number 1, 2, or 3, the most impactful to the least impactful. That pitch will be up for the next that poll will be up for the next 5 minutes. So delegates, you take part in that poll. Judges, if you look in the chat section, you will see that you have a breakout room there for you to go off and deliberate. Click on that link, head off to deliberate. And for the rest of us, when you finish voting for your finalist of choice, I have a video for you. Do you remember Chef Kieran Jeffro? If you were at the forum yesterday, you would have seen him take us on a journey through this entire forum, from farm all the way through to table, talking about the importance of food safety. We have one more episode to see. This one takes us to his restaurant in Nairobi. Over to you, Chef.
So our food safety safari culminates here in the restaurant, and this is where the interaction between your team and your customers happens, where the culture of your organization from a food safety perspective is seen, and there are some absolutely vital steps that you should follow to make sure they are happy and, more importantly, safe. So this is Josfat, our restaurant manager. Over the course of our pandemic, things have changed. We never used to have face masks. This is now standard issue for all of our staff for very obvious reasons. Gloves, if they are used for a specific task and disposed of immediately after that task, they are very, very good, and it's exactly what Josfat and our team are trained to do when serving our customers. And that is the standard spec for a food safe, consumer safe member of a service team. Now the next thing is our eating area, and this is how tables and chairs in the current coronavirus pandemic environment will start in a restaurant like Seven. And there are some extremely important steps here from both a food safety and a consumer safety perspective. First thing, you can see the tables are distanced 2 meters apart. That is a government directive currently to keep people socially distanced as they eat. We start with a blank canvas here, and then we build the table up one step at a time, but from a very sanitary perspective. So the first thing to do is sanitize the entire table thoroughly. That is the top of the table and the sides and edges of the table. Now let me run you through a chair very quickly. First thing that people do is that. The back of the chair, vital to sanitize. The sides of the chair, vital to sanitize. These are all places people regularly touch. People being customers, people being our service staff. These are all places where our horrible, filthy hands get all over. The sides of the chairs. When you sit down, you'll sit down on a chair, you'll stick your hands on the side of the chair and you will pull yourself in. Here we have boiling hot water that's being poured over the cutlery. All the tableware, knives, forks, plates, glasses, salt cellar have all been sanitized prior to being laid on the table. So with a fresh pair of gloves, Josfat's now ready to lay all the tableware on the table, and we use one clean napkin per customer, which has also been sanitized. And the napkins have been folded in such a way that the cutlery is not exposed to the open air. As a customer, we ask you to wash your hands. I think people are getting pretty used to this. It's pretty reasonable. Then sanitize, automatic sanitizer, again, pretty standard. I'm good to go. That's our general manager, Felix. He's like Mr. Policeman here at the door with his thermometer. So here I am at my perfectly safe space at Seven Restaurant. I have a sanitized table, a sanitized chair. All my crockery, cutlery, and glassware is sanitized. I have a little label to tell me that everything is sanitized. And all this creates a safe space for your customer. The last thing is we go menuless. That is pretty common in this day and age as well. Take out your telephone, scan a QR code, pull up the menu. Why do we scan a QR code? That's so that we don't have menus going from hands to hands to hands, cross-contaminating. Josfat, can I please have one bread and butter pudding made with some lovely bananas? Thank you very much. Santi. So from a food-safe farm to a food-safe fork, we get a beautiful, delicious, food-safe banana bread and butter pudding, and ultimately, a happy customer who will come back and keep your business booming. Now I get to eat. A lot of hard work culminates in this dish. If I do say so myself, that is delicious.
Have your answer ready to announce?
Yes, very good. It was unanimous.
It was unanimous. All
Don't
right.
talk, don't talk, don't talk. I want this
No, I
live on
won't.
the air. All right. Tom, don't spoil it.
No. I just wanted to
All
make
right,
sure
let's
he
go.
was ready.
I'm
to
ready.
go. All
I'm
right.
ready. I'm ready.
Robert, we're ready.
Thank you to Chef Kieran Jeffro taking us from farm to table. You earned that bread and butter pudding with banana in it. Thank you so much for all of those exciting episodes that we've enjoyed over the past 2 days. So I'm stalling. The tension in our virtual room is rising. Let us take a look at the people's poll. Who did you vote for, delegates? Which finalists did you vote for? Pitch number 3 came out at the top, but pitch number 2 and number 1 very, very close. This is very close. So that means that the people's vote goes to Yup. Let's find out who the judges' vote goes to, because this will be the pitch at IFC winner for 2021. Robert, how did it go in the judging room? How was deliberations?
It was difficult. I just wanted to start, we wanted to start by thanking all of the applications, the 29 that were received, and congratulate the finalists, the OneAgri, Floatify, and ZoomAgri, right? I think after some debate internally, based on what we heard, based on the evolution of the product, based on the commercialization that is happening in the African continent, on the subscription-based model, which we think it's feasible and inclusive, the plans to diversify into other segments where the business is today, and the scaling potential. We agree with the will of the people, and we congratulate ZoomAgri as the winner of this year's.
Wow, let's see Yup's face.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor.
Yup, go ahead. The people were right, the judges were right, they all came to the same decision, or let's just say you all had the same idea. Yup, a few words. Let's get Robert off the screen, let's get me off the screen, let's spotlight our pitch at IFC winner. Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much all for winning this premium, but I also would like to congratulate Floatify and OneAgri with a great job. And I think the three of us have something very interesting going on here. So congratulations on that. And for us, it's a very, moment of proud that indeed the IFC and the World Bank is identifying this opportunity of Zumagri. So we would like to thank you all very much. This is a great motivation for all our 50 employees we have so far, and also another incentive to keep pushing into Africa as much as we can. So thank you all for this confidence.
Thank you very much, Jaap, and congratulations. And also thank you to Daniel, to Diana, and to Noel, and wish you every success with future innovations and future development. Delegates and judges, nicely done. All right, so one of the nice things about the IFC Food Safety Forum is that even though we are virtual, it doesn't mean that we can't mingle, meet experts, have conversations, knowledge share. And that is what we do in our breakout rooms. There are going to be 3 rooms coming up in a moment where you get to talk about cold chain or digital disruptions or food safety and sustainability. But how do you choose which room you want to go to? We've already thought about that. Here's a chance to meet the experts before you decide. Take a look.
Good afternoon. My name is James Eason. I am Global Cold Chain Alliance Technical Advisor to the industry. I'm looking forward to see each and every one of you this May 11th and 12th at the IFC International Food Safety event virtual. I'm going to be on a panel speaking about cold chain logistics and how it affects the food safety industry. We will be talking about innovations around cold storage, battery storage, and thermal storage, how to lower your cost, and other technologies and business operating models around the cold chain. It's going to be one of the most exciting event this year around food safety. Leading experts from around the world will be there. Hope you attend the event and looking forward.
Digital technologies have transformed sectors like retail, finance, and travel, but agriculture remains the least digitized sector. In the Meet the Expert session on digital disruption, we will look at the potential impacts of digital technologies on food production and food safety. Starting from the premise that food safety begins at the farm, what role can digital technology play in increasing traceability in the supply chain and ensuring product quality? And what are the implications for smallholder producers? What are the technologies that will really make a difference, and which are the ones that are mostly hype? Join us for these questions and more.
Food production and consumption contributes more than 25% of the global greenhouse gases, which pollute and cause man-made climate change. Many of you are already experiencing the impact of this on your health, your environments, and economies. The opportunity to make meaningful change to our food systems is now. And you as food safety professionals, your actions are already driving the movement towards sustainable development in your countries. Unsafe food makes 600 million people a year sick, and that impacts on health and economies around the world. The way we grow and waste food also impacts on the health of the planet. I'm Sarah Blanchard, and I would love you to join our virtual session where we look at how through food safety you can drive sustainable development in your organization. We will look at how to drive sustainable development in your organization. Sustainability.
See those 3 breakout rooms. Now you've heard a little bit about the themes. You can choose, just click on the room and that will take you in virtually. And you have 25 minutes. And I will see you back here on the main stage very soon. Welcome back, everybody, from the breakout rooms. I know they were interesting because we had to entice you back onto the main stage. This is the last few minutes of our forum, and there are a couple of things that I would love to do with you. One is the values survey. How was today? How was yesterday if you were at the forum for both days? What parts did you enjoy the most? Any suggestions? All of that great feedback. We would love that. So when you see the value survey pop up on your screen, do fill it in. We'd really, really appreciate it because we're doing this for you. So you can tell us what you really, really liked and what you would like to be different. And so with closing remarks, Prasad Gopalan, Global Head of Agribusiness IFC. Prasad, welcome.
Good day, everyone. Thank you for participating in IFC's 9th International Food Safety Virtual Forum. It has been an excellent 2 days of discussions and presentations. We're all aware that a strong and effective food safety system is part of a sustainable business and is evidence that risks are being identified and controlled. I want to especially thank Chef Kiran for navigating the food safety safari for us. What a treat it was. The theme of this year's forum, From Farm to Table, Building Resilient Food Systems, highlighted how investments in food safety and the fostering of a food safety culture can unlock business opportunities and enhance financial performance. IFC's food safety vision is to promote sustainable, inclusive, and efficient food systems through the private sector via investments, advisory, and partnerships to create development impact. To enhance food security, we need to focus on 5 things. Number 1, increased food supply from especially efficient and competitive origins. Second, increase value addition and product diversification in supply chains. Number 3 is to improve efficiency, lower the cost of food distribution, and improve logistics. Number 4, lower cost of food to consumer through efficient use of technology and innovation. And last but not least, promote access to safe, affordable, and nutritious food. For more than a decade, IFC has helped food companies in emerging markets participate in modern food value chains and protect consumer health through advisory programs for improving food safety. At IFC, we focus on solutions for providing safer food for Africans, and we are working very closely with the private sector to achieve this. But make no mistakes, the stakes are very high. Africans suffer the highest burden of foodborne diseases worldwide, with an estimated 137,000 deaths and over 90 million illnesses annually, according to a recent report from the Food Safety Partnership. This has huge economic ramifications in Africa's economy, with estimated losses of over $16 billion in annual productivity. This is why food safety is such a priority for IFC, and we are thrilled that you joined us at this forum. One of our key themes over the past 2 days has been challenges and solutions for the African food industry. We've had an opportunity to learn how Twiga has navigated its food safety journey through the pandemic. We've discussed the newly signed African Continental Free Trade Area and its implications for food safety and trade, the influence on national food standards, and how countries can take advantage of the free trade region. Our panelists have shared views on the 2-tier system, with high-quality, safe food being exported to higher value developed markets and domestic companies held to a lower standard. What we have heard today can help smaller suppliers put in place the food safety systems that are needed to move into bigger markets. We're also sure the information has been valuable for policymakers working on regulations to support and protect food systems. The launch of the African Continental Free Trade Area is expected to increase intra-African trade in agriculture. Making this happen requires intensive work on government, making agricultural policies and regulatory frameworks in the food safety area. This will also require a more effective implementation of good food safety procedures across the food chain. We will need a broad-scale capacity building program for both the food industry as well as relevant public authorities. One thing that has come out of these discussions over the past 2 days is that driving change in domestic markets will also improve companies' export opportunities. We are very fortunate to have exporters here to explain what they see as needed to bring more food companies into regional and global supply chains. The message that has come out is very clear. We need to encourage domestic participation in elevating the importance of food safety. Another important point that was raised at this forum was the link that exists between food safety and nutrition. As you well know, simply put, better food safety practices increases access to nutritious food. Raising standards is an important part of providing nutritious food to the most vulnerable populations. Everybody here knows today that food safety culture is a very complex issue. Companies must approach their food safety culture in bite-sized steps. In other words, think big, but recognize it's a process to reach these global standards and take it at a step at a time. The expert panels have provided us with insights in numerous themes that have been on top of people's mind, such as food defense, profit inside, food policies, cold chain infrastructure, disruptive technology, and last but not least, sustainability in the food safety space. Congratulations to the winner of our pitch at IFC. Innovation underpins continuous improvements in food safety systems, fundamental in ensuring sustainable business models in the long run. On behalf of IFC, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Minister of Agriculture of Kenya, Ambassador of the Japanese Embassy in Nairobi, Kenya, the IFC and World Bank Regional Directors in Global Management, donor organizations, especially FIAS and GAFSP, the Japanese government, and the keynote speakers and the various speakers who came to the fore today, the Cafe Chat presenters, expert panel speakers, amazing moderators, and of course, all you participants of this two-day forum. I would like to extend a special thanks to our IFC food safety team and the organizing committee who've been working tirelessly for months to make these 2 days worthwhile for all of us and in bringing this forum together. And now we must move forward to build a resilient food system. After all, food safety is everybody's business. Thank you so much for attending, and please stay healthy and safe.
Thank you, Prasad. Now you have 58 minutes of quality networking to do to help you make the most of that 58 minutes. The digital host of our forum is Tom Keener. Tom, where do people need to go? Do some show and tell.
Yeah, thanks so much, Femi. So once again, you've got an opportunity here to close out your day in the East Africa time zone with our networking opportunity. My partner Tessa is sharing the networking screen here now, and all you need to do is select networking there on the main page of the platform, and you can have a chat about any of these topics that we've preloaded. You can also just go there and bump into somebody and have another chat. It's open for the next hour or so, and we certainly encourage you to use this wonder.me networking platform to enjoy yourselves and to continue chatting with all of our experts. So we look forward to seeing you over there. Thanks.
Thanks, Tom. And thank you. Enjoy the networking, everybody. This has been the 2021 IFC Food Safety Forum. It wouldn't be the forum without you. Thanks for being part of it. Take care.